Tonight on News 5 Live, CARICOM leaders get down to business in closed-door sessions. UN Secretary General cancels trip to Belize. And mask mandates begin a gradual rollback. Find out where you no longer have to wear yours. These stories and more coming up on News 5 Live.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
Are you looking for the right product to keep your family and your home safe? Then Spark Alcohol is exactly what you've been looking for. It prevents the spread of many diseases. It's also fast-drying, safe, and conveniently packaged in a spray bottle. Protect your family and your home with Spark Alcohol. Exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited.
No need to buy fuel anymore. Use 100% electricity with zero emissions at quarter of the cost of fuel. Drive with confidence. No destination is out of your reach. Travel anytime, anywhere. BEL, supporting 100% electric vehicles with charging stations coming soon, countrywide, to parks and public spaces, restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, and even service stations. BEL, powering everything, anytime, anywhere.
What is the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine? The Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine is an RNA vaccine that triggers our immune system to develop antibodies against the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19. It helps to reduce hospitalization, severity of the disease, and death. What is the Pfizer vaccine made of, and is it safe? The Pfizer vaccine is made up of mRNA messenger ribonucleic acid, which are molecules that carry the genetic information needed to make proteins, lipid, salts, and sugar. It is safe for persons 12 years and older and does not contain the COVID-19 virus, hence cannot cause infection. Tests have shown that the vaccine is effective against current virus variants. Who should take the Pfizer vaccine? The Pfizer vaccine should be taken by persons 12 years of age and older who do not have severe allergic reaction after a previous dose of vaccine or have not had severe allergic reaction to any ingredient of this vaccine. 2 doses of the vaccine are required 3 weeks apart. If you are between the ages of 12 and 17 years, you are required to present a signed consent form before you are vaccinated. What are the side effects of the Pfizer vaccine? Some common side effects of the Pfizer vaccine are headache, fatigue, muscle pain, fever, chills, and swelling at the injection site. If side effects persist, contact your doctor as soon as possible. Does the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine prevent infection and transmission? No, Vaccination alone does not prevent infection and transmission. We are still required to continue to wear masks properly, physically distance, wash and sanitize hands often, practice proper coughing and sneezing hygiene, and avoid crowds.
Applying for a Social Security sickness benefit? Here's what you need to know. A complete claims package include 1. Sickness claim form fully completed by the claimant and medical doctor. 2. Salaries record form completed by the employer or HR representative. 3. Proof of bank account such as bank book, online banking, or statement displaying your name and account number. To submit via email, you need to take a clear photo or scan of the documents and email to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Be sure to include your full name, social security number, and benefit type in the subject line of the email. Or you can drop off all completed forms into the Dropbox slot at the nearest branch office. Deadline to submit is 14 days from your first day of illness. All forms are available on the website at www.socialsecurity.org.bz. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, March 1st. I am Sabrina Daly. CARICOM heads of government are gathering in person for the first time since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. The 33rd Intersessional is being held in San Pedro Town and Burgers Key. A number of issues relating to the Caribbean community are on the agenda for the two-day event. But as is standard practice for such international events, the working sessions are closed door. This means no press, international or local, are allowed in. However, before these began, News 5's Paul Lopez was following the opening ceremony this morning. Here is his report of that event.
Meetings between CARICOM's heads of government officially kicked off today with an opening session here in Ambergris Key. Heads of government representatives converged upon the West Room at the Grand Caribe Resort. The opening session heard remarks from Prime Minister John Briceño, as well as the Secretary General for CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett.
A warm welcome to Belize. I am especially happy to welcome you all to San Pedro, Ambergris Key, better known as La Isla Bonita. San Pedro is a destination which attracts many foreign and local tourists. It epitomizes beauty and leisure, which unfortunately many of us will not get to fully enjoy this week.
The next 2 days will be filled with meetings and discussions between representatives in this room and those in attendance virtually. Topics like the unrest in Haiti and the effects of climate change on the Caribbean are at the top of the agenda.
Beaches here are eroding because of rising sea levels. The Belize Barrier Reef, a World Heritage Site, is struggling due to coral bleaching. A growing population is testing the limits of the island's capacity. More recently, the COVID-19 pandemic dealt a devastating blow to San Pedro's lucrative tourism industry.
Also a priority on the agenda is the Caribbean's COVID-19 plan of recovery.
Significant obstacles still lay in our path. Much too many of our citizens remain unvaccinated. Too many of our children are still out of school. Too many of our businesses are still floundering with the resultant effect on unemployment. However, one thing we have learned over the 49 years of our existence is that we are a resilient community. bound together, particularly in times of adversity. Such is this time.
Most Caribbean countries function on a service-driven economy, particularly on the tourism industry. Marketing the Caribbean as a single product can boost the region's recovery efforts, says Dr. Barnett. Additionally, CARICOM leaders have agreed to reduce extra-regional agro-food imports by 25% by 2025.
Chair, heads of government, distinguished delegates, as we look towards a major milestone in 2023 of 50 years of CARICOM, we can celebrate our achievements across the 4 pillars of our integration movement. What we must also do is look forward to those achievements as the foundation for building a resilient Caribbean community based on rule of law, participatory governance, social and economic and environmental resilience. In short, a place in which our people live in a safe, viable, and prosperous society.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
While the curfew has been lifted and people are enjoying their first day in almost 2 years of not having to wear masks outdoors, the amended statutory instrument does still require people to wear masks in closed space settings. In order to avoid confusion, this is what the SI states. Every person shall wear a face mask indoors or in a closed space, such as church services, wedding ceremonies, funeral services, wakes and repasts, at social club events and receptions. You also still need to wear them in government buildings, inside all types of stores, and when traveling on public buses, taxis, boats, and airplanes. The SI also reminds managers that it is still a violation to allow employees at the workplace without wearing masks and for not keeping social distancing. Gymnasiums must still only function at 75% of their maximum capacity. While social distancing remains in gyms, people are not obligated to wear masks during their workout sessions. However, they must enter the buildings wearing their masks. Churches and other places of worship also must still function at only 75% capacity at any given time, and attendees must wear their masks. There is no requirement now for churchgoers to be vaccinated. Unvaccinated tourists entering Belize will still be required to take a COVID test, while vaccinated people who can show proof of their immunization will not be required to test for COVID. Belizeans leaving the country must be fully vaccinated, and those traveling to Chetumal no longer have to take a test to re-enter Belize, regardless of how long they stay in Mexico. Visiting foreign nationals who do not stay in Belize for longer than 1 day do not have to purchase travel insurance. No doubt, the Prime Minister's announcement on Monday that government will relax some COVID restrictions in March and continue to lift everything by April made a lot of people happy. PM John Briceño said on Open Your Eyes this morning that the burden of protecting the masses is no longer on the government. Instead, each person should look out for themselves.
Now that we see the Omicron variant that has spread pretty much across the entire country, it's more like a bad flu. And we believe that we need to now deal on the personal freedoms of people, opening up businesses. A lot of people have been suffering, especially the entertainment business, the restaurants that have been really under a lot of stress. And we need to move now the full responsibility from the state to the individual. We've done our part. Now you as a citizen need to be able to be responsible for yourself, get vaccinated. And if you don't feel safe, then wear a mask. We're relaxing most everything. And we're using the month of March, and by April 1st, we're going to be relaxing everything. But insisting on the vaccination, that people need to get vaccinated. We're insisting if you're going to leave the country, you must be vaccinated.
The lifting of the curfew was long-awaited freedom that, some thought, came months late. But along with that freedom, others fear that there will be an increase of gun violence during those quiet hours when all we heard were dogs barking after midnight. But Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa says that the police department will scale up patrols to keep the peace at night.
We will certainly increase our presence as a police department. After hours now, there has to be greater presence, police presence. But like I always say, if a criminal wants to carry out a criminal act, they will just move it up within the time of curfew. And we've seen that over the last year or so. And what I'm also happy for is the removal of masks outdoors, because as you know, criminals would use that as a tool to disguise, and they would wear caps, they would wear sunshades and a mask. But now with the removal of this obligation to have on your mask, it certainly will help in terms of identifying criminals in committing their crimes.
Coming up, there's much more news after the break, so stay with us.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise." The devil is a deceiver and deceives people through many different ways that are available to him. Perhaps he has never used anything more effectively than alcohol. Often you hear such comments as these: "Now, a person is not a criminal because he drinks. A person can take a social drink without becoming a drunkard." Because there is a measure of truth in these statements, people are deceived into drinking. However, I agree with Upton Sinclair, who said, "I cast my vote against social drinking. I will not keep in my house a dog that bites 1 out of every 5 to 9 people who stop to pet it. Nor will I sanction alcohol because it harms just 1 out of every 5 or 16 people who drink it." Sir Winston Churchill was an avid drinker and drank an astounding 4,200 bottles of champagne in his lifetime. Obviously, he was able to manage his habit and live to the age of 90. However, his daughter Sarah was not as fortunate. In her autobiography, Keep On Dancing, she described herself as a lamb who strayed from the fold. Alcohol became such a problem that she was arrested for making scenes in the streets on a number of occasions, spent time in Holloway Prison, experienced 3 failed marriages, and died at the age of 67. While some may be decent in spite of alcohol, no one is made better because of it. The Bible is true. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
Who offers the best home internet experience? The truth is, Digi, of course. Diginet has the largest fiber network and the fastest speeds with the most reliable service. That's more learning, more earning, more gaming, more bonding, more sharing, getting more things done. And now, Diginet is even more affordable with the new entry plan, a 20 megabits per second fiber connection for just $49 monthly, and increased speeds in all plans. The truth is, only Digi has the ultimate home internet experience, with savings up to $270 when you bundle. Wireless and cable can't give you that. So what are you waiting for? Sign up or make the switch to Diginet today to enjoy more speeds to get more done. Digi, our national telecom.
What is a hybrid?
Toyota hybrid vehicles like me switch seamlessly between 2 power sources. Sometimes I travel using my petrol engine, sometimes I travel using my self-charging electric battery, and sometimes I travel using both at the same time. Which means I'm fun to drive, I produce less CO2 emissions, and I've got great electric acceleration. Not that I'm one to boast.
The Mega Bingo Progressive Jackpot is getting bigger and bigger. $649,423 is up for grabs, and you can get your hands on it all. You heard right? That's over $600,000 that can change your life. So purchase your Mega Bingo tickets for the next game, airing this Wednesday, March 2nd at 8 p.m. live on Channel 5, Radio Bahia, and Love FM. You can also catch the game online. Tune in on Facebook or YouTube. Just search for Belize Mega Bingo. So don't miss the chance to win all that mega cash. Mega Bingo is the game.
Video on demand. Coming soon.
This evening, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement about an incident today at the CARICOM intersessional meeting in San Pedro, in which a reporter alleges she was being discriminated against and muzzled by the ministry. The MFA says that prior to coverage of the event, the Government of Belize Press Office briefed the media as to the rules that would be applied as provided by the CARICOM Secretariat. All attending media houses were informed that because of the nature of the summit and the fact that the region's leaders would be present, security would be heightened. All media houses were told the areas at the conference site where they would have access and areas where they would not be allowed access. One reporter, however, entered a no-access area on Monday. She falsely claimed she had gotten permission from the CARICOM Secretariat. She had not. On Tuesday, there was a repeat incident, and that reporter and cameraman entered the breakfast area where the delegates were having meetings. She was asked again to leave the area. The MFA says they regret the decision by her media house to, quote, play victim and cry foul with extreme sensationalism. In Belize, as in every region of the world, there are rules and protocols which govern meetings of this type, unquote. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says, quote, we reiterate that members of the media are present at the summit and will have full access to the delegates in areas and at times specified, unquote. This evening, the UDP Secretariat called for the removal of Press Office Director Mike Redon in what they termed preferential treatment of Channel 5. As a point of clarification to the UDP press release, Great Belize Productions has offered video production, broadcast and streaming services to international agencies, governmental, non-governmental, and private businesses for decades. Our productions have earned several distinctions in the region through the Caribbean Broadcasting Union. This production department is a separate function from the news department. But for context, News 5 has accredited 2 persons to cover the CARICOM intersessional event as press. As per the protocol in such high-level events, our reporters were briefly asked to designated areas and events where they would be able to access visiting dignitaries. One of our reporters was also removed this morning from an area of the conference, alongside other reporters at that location. The Christian Workers Union, the representative body for stevedores, says it has been shut out of its online banking system following an interim injunction by the Supreme Court. The decision to temporarily stay the disbursement of funds from a $1.5 million payout by the government of Belize has created a ripple effect across the financial sector, effectively freezing out the CWU from conducting any transactions. It began over the weekend when the union decided to proceed with the processing of checks for 185 eligible members. Those checks were issued out on Monday morning, ahead of a scheduled hearing before Justice Lisa Showman. Having heard preliminary submissions from the CWU's attorney, as well as the attorney for the receiver of the Port of Belize Limited, Justice Showman granted an interim injunction that runs through to March 16th. This afternoon, we spoke with CWU President Mose Hyde and attorney Daryl Bradley. They outlined the union's course of action and the effect the High Court's decision has had on the union.
Yesterday was the 28th of February. This is the day that all our members, the stevedores, had a fair and reasonable expectation based on the agreement that was signed by their bargaining agent, which they had given consensus to, that they had a fair and reasonable expectation that since as a body they have complied with the terms of that agreement, that there would be their share of that ex gratia payment from government, which states the 28th of February. So as the bargaining agent, our guidance to the negotiating team was to do their best to make sure that our members would be able to access those funds on that date, because we feel very duty-bound to that agreement based on the consensus that we got from our members. So that is why yesterday was such a critical day for us.
Up until Monday at 2 o'clock or shortly thereafter, there would have been absolutely no injunction restraining any member of the CWU from doing anything. So that just because you file an application does not mean that that automatically grants an injunction. Everything has to be considered on its merits, and everything has to be following the principle of the rule of law. This money is owed to the stevedores. They've worked for it. And people who may say that, well, whatever, this was a negotiated agreement to pay compensation for individuals who were deserving. That's why the memorandum was executed. There is no reason that those payments should have ceased, or any of the processes that the CWU had already commenced should have ceased, just because at the last minute the claimants or applicants would have elected to file for an injunction stopping the payment.
With its online system frozen, the union is unable to determine what its balance is in respect of the monies it has paid out to stevedores. Meanwhile, the union's attorney argues that prior to the injunction being granted on Monday afternoon, the CWU was free to proceed with its payments.
We have not been able to even access our online information. So we don't even have an ability to do any kind of reconciliation, because it would appear like to me that online access to the account has been blocked. So we're not even able to log in. So right now, as I'm speaking, we don't know what is left in the account. Obviously, there is going to be money left in the account, which is obviously under the injunction, but we can't tell you what has actually come out. We are trying to resolve it, but based on how we are being treated right now, like some kind of financial pariah. So overall, I'm saying to you, what is emerging is banks are very uncomfortable to deal with us. And I believe that this is also a consequence. This is a part of that, there must be that a decision has been made that it's best to not have that login work. Now, maybe it is an IT issue at the bank, but it would be a strange timed one. But that's where it is for us now.
If you ask me for an undertaking, which is that you're asking me to voluntarily, and I want to emphasize that word, you're asking me to voluntarily desist with a course of action. And I tell you, after having consulted with clients, that we will not give the undertaking. What does that indicate? That we will continue with the course of actions which have been underlined. So that this view or this statement that somehow because you have knowledge of something, you are supposed to stop, that is not law. Law is that you follow court orders, you follow court judgments. On Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday up until 2-something, there was no injunction restraining any officer of the CWU from doing anything.
Fuel prices are on the rise, and it is expected that those figures will go even higher before consumers will see a decline. This is because the world prices are already up, and with the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, the implications are that within a few weeks, inflation on fuel and other imported commodities is inevitable. PM Briceño has said that the government needs to collect on its fuel taxes, and despite GOB absorbing a recent hike in the cost of diesel, ultimately taxpayers will feel the brunt of it. Today, Minister of Transport Rodwell Ferguson reiterated that higher fuel prices will come.
Okay, let us reduce the taxes on fuel, but I think the Prime Minister said in previous encounter that we have gotten a broken economy, and we are trying our best to rebuild it back to where it was. And we have committed now to the teachers and public officers that come July 1st, we're going to restore back their 10%. So our Belizeans need to be patient. I think we have a government that is working to improve the living conditions of our Belizeans, but it can't happen overnight.
If you don't have a motor vehicle, you might say that rising gas prices do not affect you. Think again. If you commute via public transportation or taxi, it is very likely that your bus and cab fare will increase. News 5 spoke with Transport Minister Rodwell Ferguson, who says that he has already been approached by bus and taxi associations.
Does the government absorb the increase that in fuel?
Remember, the government is elected to manage the affairs of the people. And only the people will make the government strive. Because if the government do not tax the people, then the government has no money. Once the money is spent wisely, I think the majority of people will understand that. I understand this condition and the situation government is in, but the money is being spent wisely, they will appreciate it.
So, I'm just trying to understand, sir. So, we can expect that public transportation costs, or at least the fare, will go up.
That's a possibility after we will sit down with the association and figure out what is the best way forward and what is the best approach. I know sometimes when they come, they may ask for the increase in prices or maybe the reduction in the duty to only for them. So I look at all possibilities. Okay. And once you come up with an answer, I make the public know.
For almost 2 years, most sporting activities had been postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions that were in place. Some disciplines resumed, but with limited capacity. With the new SI passed, Sports Minister Rodwell Ferguson says that contact sports are soon to resume.
We are going to explore both youth and sports. When they give me a responsibility, I will not sit back and lay idle. I will start to find opportunities and create that we can make it happen within the department. As a matter of fact, hopefully on the 7th of May, we are going to start basketball, amateur basketball, across the country, I believe. So every youth have the opportunity to play basketball. After basketball is finished, we are also going to start volleyball. And I want to see how we collaborate with the FFB, and they are totally control of football, but together we are going to work it together for the benefit of all youths across the country. Hopefully also we are going to start back primary school football, primary school softball, primary school volleyball, primary school everything to enhance at an early age.
After the break, Suriname next in line for CARICOM chairmanship. Its foreign minister says less talk, more action.
Ministry of Public Utilities, Energy, Logistics and E-Governance will be conducting a National Energy Use Survey from the 2nd of February to 30th May 2022. The survey will cover all sectors of Belize's economy, and the collected information will be used to support energy policies and assist in planning a sustainable future for Belize's energy sector. If your household has been selected, an enumerator will visit your home with an identification card. Enterprises will receive an online questionnaire to complete. In both cases, the ministry requests your kind cooperation. This survey is financed by a grant from the Global Environmental Facility via the World Bank, acting as the project executing agency under the framework of the Energy Resilience for Climate Adaptation Project.
This Valentine's Day, share the love for less with Cellular World. Get the best deals on our selection of electronics and find the perfect gift for that special someone. Take advantage of our phone deals, starting as low as $45. Plus, we have the latest phones from Samsung, Apple, Alcatel, Xiaomi, to name a few. So whether you're looking for a tablet, smartwatch, headphone, gaming console, or speaker, we can help you share all the love for less. Visit us at any of our Cellular World branches in Belize City, Belmopan, and San Pedro. Or WhatsApp us at 615-5141 to start saving when you shop with us this Valentine's Day. Cellular World. Low prices, more choices.
You want a mobile service provider that allows you to stay connected with fast, reliable LTE coverage anytime, anywhere. Whether it's just to catch up with family, to share that experience with your one special friend, or to manage your small business. Whatever's your thing, you deserve to have the best mobile experience. Now you can do even more while on the go with the increased anytime data allowance in Digi's mobile postpaid plans. You now enjoy 8 gigs of anytime data starting at only $55 monthly. Or share up to 120 gigs of anytime data with up to 6 of your closest friends. That's more LTE data for you to enjoy during the day, nights, and weekends. No restrictions. So keep your gigs up with more data plus unlimited talk and text in all Digi postpaid plans. Visit a Digi store near you to sign up today. All you need is a valid ID and proof of address. It's time to get on Belize's fastest mobile 4G LTE advanced network. Visit livedigi.com to find out more, or hit us up on WhatsApp or Facebook. Digi, our national telecom.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres was scheduled to arrive in Belize on Wednesday. Aside from making an appearance at the CARICOM SICA meeting being held on Hamburgers Key and other events, Guterres was to get a first-hand view of the environmental devastation in Monkey River Village, which was captured by News 5's Dwayne Moody in a feature story on severe erosion that's threatening the existence of the village. Today, Executive Director of the 5Cs, Dr. Colin Young, spoke about the unfortunate cancellation.
The UN Secretary General had to cancel his visit to Belize, and my understanding is because of the unfolding situation with the Ukraine and Russia. Obviously, this is a consequential issue happening globally, and so it's totally understandable as to why that visit would have had to be cancelled. I'm hoping that at some time in the future he would be able to visit Belize and to visit the center. I believe the visit to Monkey River would have been particularly important because he could have gotten a very frontline view of the devastation that is being caused by climate change, including sea level rise. And of course, at the center, it would have been an honor and a privilege to have hosted him there. So we're looking forward that perhaps in the future he will make a visit.
While the UN Secretary General had to cancel his visit to Belize on Monday, the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly commenced with national statements made by political leaders from its member countries. Belize's very own Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, Orlando Habet, and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Kenrick Williams are attending the session, which is being held in Nairobi, Kenya. In his statement, Minister Habet was able to draw the attention of his counterparts by speaking to the impacts of climate change and calling for action to strengthen resilience and the resilience of small island developing states like Belize.
Belize is a country heavily dependent on its natural resources, both land and sea. Belizeans are culturally linked to the natural resources and rich biodiversity and are economically tied to the natural environment through the tourism, fishing, and agricultural sector. Like many state parties here today, Belize is faced with a triple planetary crisis, the results of which threatens the very existence of SIDS. The existential threats being faced by Caribbean SIDS as a result of the impacts of climate change, land and marine-based pollution, and ecosystem loss are well known. Our actions, founded on sound partnerships, should ensure that we strengthen resilience to these crises and other future shocks in ways that foster low-emission, sustainable, and inclusive growth. Belize has, within the framework of the Convention on Biological Diversity, established strategic goals for addressing biodiversity loss. We recognize that the potential for positive interactions of environmental, economic, and social systems lie at the heart of nature-based solutions.
According to Minister Orlando Habet, serious investments must be made to create the transformative actions needed to safeguard the planet. He chronicled Belize's mission to continue building its resilience, breaking down the government's commitment to act for nature, including the ban of single-use plastics and the recently signed Blue Bond.
Our commitments include improved forest management regimes, expansion of ocean-based sustainable management practices by increasing protection to 30% of our oceans and restoration of more than 130,000 hectares that include 12,000 hectares of mangrove ecosystems by 2030. Furthermore, steps are being taken to increase the financial sustainability of our protected areas system, which covers approximately 35.8% of the country. This great conservation achievement has assisted in reducing poverty and increasing social protection. The signing of potentially the world's largest blue bond seeks to reduce our debt burden and put the country back on a transformational path to green and inclusive recovery. Belize has already established legislation and institutional frameworks to prohibit the importation of single-use plastics and styrofoam products. Further measures will include the phasing out of all plastics in protected areas.
Following Prime Minister John Bersenio's tenure as chairman of CARICOM, the president of Suriname will take on the role. Just before news time, News 5 spoke briefly to Albert Ramdin, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Suriname. During his interview, conducted outside the compound due to media restrictions, Ramdin spoke about some of the issue of importance to his nation in these high-level meetings.
Let me begin by saying this. We are happy to be in Belize. We appreciate the hospitality of the government and the people. These are beautiful surroundings, so it doesn't make it easy to have serious meetings. I think we all kind of tempted to be out of the meetings. But this is an important meeting, and I believe that for Suriname, President Santokhi from Suriname will be the incoming chair. So after Prime Minister Bersenio has demitted, in July 1st, Suriname will become the chair. So it's important in that regard to have continuation of the agenda. But in terms of the whole region and for Suriname, a couple of very important issues. The single market and economy, critically important. How can we make it work better? A lot of work needs to be done. One of the most important issues is how do we get rid of all the non-tariff barriers? Those issues that make it difficult for exports to take place between the countries. So intra-regional trade needs to increase, and Suriname has made some proposals in that regard. Then the other thing that is important to us is the agricultural development of the region. Suriname, together with Guyana, can provide food security. Together with Belize as well, we can do much more in working together. We have a small market. The bridge which Belize can make between CARICOM and Central America is critically important. That's why we appreciate also the initiative of the Prime Minister to host the CARICOM SICA Summit, because this region, Central America, is 60 million in market size. CARICOM is just 12, depending on how you count. So all these are opportunities.
Foreign Minister Ramdin also told News 5 that there is a need for action within the Caribbean community and less talk. Ramdin says that he expects these meetings to be historic, with concrete and decisive ways forward because of the caliber of leaders that are engaged in the discussions on these important issues.
The key thing at this meeting, which I sense and which will continue tomorrow, is that we want to be as concrete as possible. The time to talk is over. We need to really start getting into doing business in a much more aggressive manner, in a positive way, of course, by looking at opportunities towards the future. And there are several opportunities to work on. There are a couple of impediments, difficulties in terms of transport, by sea, by air, but also in terms of the internet. We'll have to solve those problems. So I can tell you that this meeting is going to be historical in the sense that leaders, this is a different team of leaders. They come together after 2.5 years of COVID-19, but this group of leaders have a different approach of being very business-oriented, result-oriented, and I think that can only redound to the benefit of the people of the Caribbean region, but also for our standing in the world.
One of the major challenges faced by the Caribbean is transport and accessibility. Belize arguably faces the greatest challenges, largely due to its geographic location within the community. But the ease of transportation is an issue CARICOM leaders have committed to solve. And Foreign Minister Ramdin says private sector investments is one way to solve the issue.
I'm sure you see how difficult it is to travel to Belize in particular, perhaps one of the only nations in the Caribbean that presents so much challenges when it comes to travel, and as our Prime Minister states, that makes it even more difficult for export to take products into the Caribbean. How do we even begin to address that issue?
Well, first of all, I don't want to say that we like to compete, but on the issue about accessibility, Suriname has its own challenges. I think it's something which we need to really work out, not only by the government. This must be done by the private sector, because in their operations they will be much more efficient, looking at the business side, be profitable. In our case in Suriname, we have been able to ask the private sector to invest in vessels and aircrafts, especially cargo aircrafts. That is already happening. So if we leave it up to the private sector, I think that will work out. We have to give the private sector more space, more opportunity to be part of this whole enterprise. But the government needs to be also much more bold in terms of decision making and much more effective. For long there has been too much bureaucracy, too much talk, too much good intentions, too many good intentions. But the issue is now that we need to really walk the talk and make sure that those things which we promised to the people of the Caribbean are being carried out. That's the new vision for this region, and a good leadership will provide that vision to become reality.
Just ahead, PM says the new budget will bring relief to the most vulnerable. Don't go away.
Electricity is an essential part of our daily lives. We use lights and household appliances every day. Therefore, we must ensure our homes are wired properly. At Benny's, we have certified wires with the right gauges and insulation. BEL certified meter sockets, authentic GE and Square D panel boxes and breakers, which protect your electrical system from being overloaded. When wiring your home, avoid imitation brands which can be very dangerous. Give yourself and your family peace of mind using genuine electrical products available at Benny's, celebrating 75 years of quality and savings.
Do people actually hear from God? Are there really angels and demons? Okay, now that's just unbelievable. In our next series, we're going beyond the Google search and facing the tough questions. It's time to take on the skeptic and eliminate the doubt. From inconceivable to unimaginable, we're talking about the Bible's most unbelievable truths. Every second of this series will be worth your while. Believe it or not.
In these trying times, Smart is here to lessen the burden. Smart's reduced roaming rates save you while traveling. Calls back home are a low 35 cents per minute when visiting Canada, the US, and Mexico, or pay as low as 50 cents for calls when visiting countries in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. For the month of February and March, enjoy an unbelievable low rate of 30 cents per megabyte when roaming with mobile data in Canada, the US, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Whether you are a business traveler, studying abroad, visiting loved ones, or just traveling for pleasure, Smart's new roaming rates have got you covered. Roaming in China, Europe, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean is as low as the cost of making a local call. It's that low. Smart's roaming coverage continues to grow, so you can also enjoy affordable roaming rates in several destinations across the globe. For more information on rates to other countries, visit our website or call 1090 for more details before you travel. Smart, bringing people together.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
In his press statement on Monday, Prime Minister John Briceño indicated that following his recent meeting with the IMF, Cabinet made some pragmatic decisions regarding the new national budget. The PM said that the most vulnerable people will be included in a social policy agenda that will seek to also expand the national health insurance.
While the IMF hailed our impressive economic performance, they cautioned that economically we're not out of the woods yet. Therefore, the Cabinet approved a budget that is prudent and pragmatic. We will emphasize an ambitious social policy agenda which centers on bringing relief to the more vulnerable among us, expanding the NHI program while continuing to rebuild the Belizean economy in partnership with the private sector, the unions, and non-governmental actors. We received a detailed report from the ministerial team which met with the joint unions. Significant progress was made in these discussions towards finding a path to restoring benefits for public officers and teachers. After careful deliberation, Cabinet has settled our position on these matters, and we will inform the unions of the elements of that position, which includes much-needed pension reform. More importantly, we believe we have found a workable compromise, which includes restoring the full 10% to public officers and teachers.
The reinstatement of the full salary for public servants and teachers comes as good news. Across the country, these workers have worked through the current fiscal year on a 10% pay cut. On Monday, Prime Minister John Briceño announced that the 10% will be reinstated in the upcoming fiscal year. We asked Andrea Perez, Minister of Blue Economy and Civil Aviation, about this new development.
As it relates to my ministry, certainly is a much cause to receiving it with celebration, and I'm looking at our team because especially in the Ministry of Blue Economy and Civil Aviation, these two departments, we have a great, I have deep respect for these people who know what they're doing every day, and for them to take that sacrifice, acknowledging them. So I know that this is a welcome news for them. But I think that this is also a reflection of the commitment that we have as a government, that although we have to take that hard decision, especially us in government, making almost these near impossible decisions puts us at a position where we lose popularity. Political capital is lost, but we have to be realistic. We have to be that we are showing the people of Belize that we have a commitment to make real decisions that are realistic. But looking at the picture, we're not out of the woods as yet, but we're seeing and crunching the figures as we had this over the weekend, a very intense gathering of cabinet for 2 days. Some people were met with consternation and condemnation, but I believe that it came out from a point that our minds put together. We were able to look at those figures and see where we're able to meet our people who recognize that people working in the public servant making a difference for this community.
We also got a chance to ask the Minister of Blue Economy and Civil Aviation and the area representatives for San Pedro, Andra Perez, what the relaxation of the COVID-19 measures means for tourism on the island.
With the announcement of the news last night, it was met with much cause for celebration, especially as it relates to the islands of Ambergris Caye and Caye Caulker, and indeed across the whole area of Belize that pertains involved directly with the tourism sector. For sure, it is a plus. It is a combination of 2 years of this pandemic, and to make clear that we're not out of the woods as yet. We still must remain cautious. But certainly it translates in a big celebration and opening up more as we move towards a busy season of tourism. So we're here and we have to celebrate. It's all good, but it's right decisions, good decision made by our government, and that we know that it's high time that to be competitive.
The Port of Magical Belize appears to have the support of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association for the development of the cruise port in Belize District. At the invitation of David Gegg, Chief Executive Officer of Portico Enterprises, a team of executives from the FCCA, including its president Michelle Page, traveled to Belize for a site visit.
It was extremely important that we come here because we had the opportunity to see an oversight firsthand of Magical Belize. So we, yesterday, as soon as we arrived, we took a helicopter over to see the actual site, which was quite impressive. We had in-depth meetings to be able to showcase exactly what the project was going to entail. We have had meetings with the Minister of Tourism to underline that the private sector needs to make more economic impact from the cruise passengers. In addition to that, how we could hire more Belizeans to work on the cruise ships and be able to purchase more of what is grown here locally in Belize. In addition, we met this morning with the Minister of Ports to be able to have a closer relationship and understand what it is that we need to do to be able to assist Belize and Belize to assist us. And so it's been a whirlwind meeting for 24 hours. What excites us is the ships that are being built today are bigger. We are not able to tender passengers from the bigger ships. So that's number one. Having a tender port is not an option with the bigger ships. We have to be able to berth. In addition, right here and now, when we tender passengers in, the crew are not able to get off because we don't have enough time. So just looking at the opportunity that a facility of that magnitude offers to Belize in terms of what the economic impact is. Number one, the ships are about 40% bigger, so you get 40% more passengers. In addition, for every passenger, there's a half a crew member. So if it's a 6,000 passenger ship, you're talking about 3,000 crew members that are able to come and spend money.
Cruise tourism in Belize continues to rebound rapidly, notwithstanding the pandemic and its devastating effect on the industry in 2020. On Monday, Michelle Page, president of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, along with her executives of the FCCA, arrived in Belize on a working visit. During their time in country, they met with government officials to discuss the state of cruise tourism amid Belize's economic recovery.
It's been extremely important that your government has understood that the cruise industry has risen above the pandemic and been able to implement standards that are higher than even the CDC's requirement. The cruise industry, unfortunately, has been singled out. We have had testing, protocols, and still we have been looked at as not providing enough. So it's really good now that the cruise industry is back in full swing. We still are doing everything we can, first of all, to sanitize, to be able to have everyone have the COVID vaccines. 100% of our passengers under the age of 12 are vaccinated. In having 100% of our crew vaccinated, and to be able to have a safe, clean environment. So, and if there is any testing, we do test, and anybody that has developed COVID is quarantined. So we know that we are taking care of everyone, and we look forward to being 100% back to Belize.
Today at the Department of Youth Services in Belize City, a handing over ceremony was held for 4 2022 Great Wall Wingle pickups for the department. Each vehicle is valued at around $48,000, tax exempted, licensed and insured, and ready to be deployed. It was a historic moment for the department as they are expanding their services across the length and breadth of the country. Dwayne Moody reports.
4 new pickup trucks were handed over to the Department of Youth Services to carry out its mandate across the country. Director Kevin Cadle says that the historic donation to the department provides its officers with the resources it needs to reach the youth in urban and rural areas of the country.
It is our mandate to be able to provide the kind of necessary services for over 170,000 young persons, or approximately 70% of this population made up of young persons under the age of 40, and a little over almost 50% who make up under the age of 29 years old. So this is significant. Everything was saturated in Belize City. So we recognize that young people live all the way in Kwikesarko, all the way in Halakte, and different parts of this country down south. And therefore we need to provide the type of necessary resources for officers to get out there and pull those young persons and be able to provide them the type of assistance they need. The other vehicle is going to be utilized in Dangriga to be able to provide again for a large population, not just urban but rural young people. First time in the history of this country this is actually taking place. Never have our people seen this magnitude of youth work that is actually taking place. Especially again in the West. We have never had a vehicle given to the youth officer in the West, especially brand new vehicles for the department on a whole.
The recently installed Minister of Youth and Sports, Rodwell Ferguson, says this handing over concludes vehicle donations to the National Sports Council and the Department of Youth Services. The process started under Minister Kevin Bernard, who once held the portfolio.
So I had a meeting with the Minister of State and the Financial Secretary about a month ago, and I told them the importance of this vehicle. Because if we are going to combat crime in this country, it can't only be the effort of the Ministry of Home Affairs. When the Ministry of Home Affairs they do enforcement, there have to be some other staff entity to be able to get to the youth across this country. That's the purpose of the vehicle.
This is the first of a string of activities coming on stream for the Department of Youth Services.
One of the big things that we're doing this year is to revise and revisit and structurize the National Youth Councils. Young people need to speak for themselves and by themselves to be able to provide meaningful trajectory for their way forward in our society. And as a result of that, we're actually going to formulate, hopefully by the end of this year, we have a National Youth Council and then the formulation of the National Youth Parliament, for this country. Something that is significant and big. Thursday and Friday we're doing an orientation for the first time with gang members who are literally going to start going back to school, doing math, English and financial literacy starting in the next 2 weeks. So that's something huge for the country as well. And those same very gang members will also in Belize City will be doing the apprenticeship training for the first time. They will literally start doing skills development and harnessing on their particular area that we believe they could be skilled in and be able to provide for themselves and their families.
The Department of Youth Services, along with Tumana, will be opening a new office in the villages of Big Falls and Independence. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Up next, a message to start off Women's Month. Stay with us.
Connecting people. Creating memories.
Guys, so here we are at the Glaze Out Kitchen. I just prepared this amazing broccoli.
Sharing a smile. NextGen, the ultimate digital experience.
In these trying times, Smart is here to lessen the burden. Smart's reduced roaming rates save you while traveling. Calls back home are a low 35 cents per minute when visiting Canada, the US, and Mexico, or pay as low as 50 cents for calls when visiting countries in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. For the month of February and March, enjoy an unbelievable low rate of 30 cents per megabyte when roaming with mobile data in Canada, the US, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Whether you are a business traveler, studying abroad, visiting loved ones, or just traveling for pleasure, Smart's new roaming rates have got you covered. Roaming in China, Europe, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean is as low as the cost of making a local call. It's that low. Smart's roaming coverage continues to grow, so you can also enjoy affordable roaming rates in several destinations across the globe. For more information on rates to other countries, visit our website or call 1090 for more details before you travel. Smart, bringing people together.
March is Women's Month, and to start the ball rolling, the director of the Women's Commission, Tia Garcia Ramirez, issued a video statement on priority areas and a call to action for issues of concern.
Belize observes this year's Women's Month not so much with a theme, but with an urgent call to action, a call to break the bias. The National Women's Commission has as its mandate to increase gender parity, equity, and equality for all women and girls in Belize. It must coordinate national government and non-government initiatives to increase and enhance effective responses to address gender issues. We work for Belize free of bias, stereotypes, and any kind of discrimination. And we work for a Belize that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. A Belize where all our differences are celebrated and valued. The greatest obstacle to achieving these ideals is bias. Bias exists in the workplace and schools, but it is first encountered and thought in the home. To eradicate it, we must address it anywhere it is found, and we must call it out. We must smash stereotypes and reject discrimination of any kind. It is only in doing these things that we will break these inequalities. The importance of women's leadership and participation cannot be overemphasized. Appointing the token representation is not nearly enough. Studies show that we need at least 30% to truly make a difference in any organization. Belizean values can only be truly reflected in decisions of the state when the governance of our country better resembles the society it represents. If we do not ensure that women are in the room as equal and valued partners participating in the discussions and decisions of this government, we are at grave risk of finding solutions that work for only 45% of our population. Women are 55% of the total population of Belize, and we cannot afford to continue to oppress the majority of our citizens. Instead, we must recognize, nurture, celebrate, and harness the creativity, productivity, the incredible energy and power of all Belizean women. During this month-long observation, we urge you to break the bias and to speak out against instances of iniquity, discrimination, and abuse. The National Women's Commission wishes to acknowledge and congratulate all Belizean women for their contributions to our families and communities as they continue to build Belize.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.